Welcome, everyone, to episode 273 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff in Podcast 2. Today, Rayanne Haines joins the podcast. Rayanne is one of the most talented individuals I think I've had on the show. I say that a lot, but she's a writer, poet, organizer, novelist. She just does an incredible amount of artistic... She expresses herself in a variety of artistic styles, and she's great at all of them. It was awesome to have a conversation with her, and we had a really good back and forth. I really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. A couple things here before we get started. I want to welcome Jennifer Ron as my sponsor for the month of July, my indie author sponsor. Although she's not just an indie author, Jennifer is just an incredibly talented, kind, insightful individual, and someone I really root for. I'm really happy that she decided to sponsor the podcast for the month of July. Dark Quarter is currently available at Bundarin Press. You go to bundarinpress.ca to check that out. But Wicked Initiations is the book I'm going to be giving away this week. I have copies of the book that I'm going to be doing, so there is a mailing list link. Just add your link to that. You are eligible for that, but you're also going to be eligible for other things. I have so many things to give away. I'm going back to Jess Alter. Man and Brother is going to be given away this week as an ebook. If you have a Kindle, this is perfect for you. I will send you a copy this Thursday, actually. This contest is going to be a thing. But I'm also going to be giving away a key for Space Marks. One of my forthcoming guests is a video game designer. We had a heck of a conversation, and he's giving away keys to his video game. Space Marks was coming out at the end of July, so I'm going to be giving those away as well. Just like I said, put your names, your emails, I should say, in this list, and I promise you I will do a drawing. Drawings are going to become a lot more regular. I have so many things to give away to each and every one of you. Indie Imprint has been great to me, and I want to thank them very much here on the air for this. I know this has been a lot more commercial, but also just lots of cool things keep happening, and I'm really grateful for all of them. All right, let's get to our conversation with Rayanne, shall we? Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint brings your creations to life. They believe in indies helping indies, and they have been known to contribute to everything from game jams to NaNoWriMo and everything in between. As a creator, you just bring your work to them, whether you're a writer, musician, or video game designer, or whatever the case may be, and they will help you format, proof, and distribute your project to a variety of different avenues. For more information, check them out at info@indieimprint.com. And by Jennifer Ron, author. Jennifer is re-releasing her fantasy series Legend of Tenlock with her first book, Wicked Initiations, coming out When Words Collide. She's also been released to Dark Quarter, courtesy of Bundarin Press. You can contact her at longevitithesis.ca. That is worldwideweb.longevitithesis.ca. Start here.
Okay.
We'll go for that. I won't ask the usual incriminating.
Oh, okay.
We'll say that to the very end. So for me, what's happened in the last little bit is I have seen the podcast become gradually more and more successful, which is a really cool deal.
Yeah.
It's opened doors and it's created some interesting opportunities. And I made a decision this year that I was going to be more prolific, publish more, publish my fourth and fifth book this year, right?
Yeah.
My fourth book's pretty much ready. My fifth book is going to be hopefully done by the 27th, or my editor will beat me.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but the thing of it is also my family and a lot of my close friends have moved away in the last 6 months. But that got me thinking. One of my sisters just moved back to Mississauga.
Yeah.
Right. So it got me thinking. Well, why am I particularly here right now? I don't really need to be here right now. So I'm in an interesting spot mentally where it's you have that moment of clarity where you are free to be whoever you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And you know that probably at this point, you're not really content, you're not mad with where your life is, but you're not content with it either.
Yeah.
You want more. And for me, what I'm thinking about actually doing is, and I am doing it. I've literally put the transfer in, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna head to BC for a couple of reasons. One, with what I've done with the podcast, I probably can use that to get credentials to do it in other things. I want to try different things. I'm not the same person I was a few years ago.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at right now personally. So here's the thing: I got 2 books ready to go.
Yeah.
But I also kind of want to leave. It's now here's the ultimate part of this where it's a bit of a mind twist. Am I getting in my own way? Not just releasing, going to see what happens, or am I using this as an excuse, or am I just being greedy and just want it all at once? And maybe I should figure out what my priorities are. So that's where my life is right this minute. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a tough decision to make. Yeah. You'll make it.
Oh, absolutely.
You'll figure it out.
I'll figure. Yeah. Well, that's life, right?
I mean, BC is pretty awesome.
Yes, that's what. That's it. I already know kind of where I want to go, how I want to do it.
Yeah.
So, I guess the question is, do I launch one book here before I go? Which I think is I think it's the way I would do it. I would cut it into one book here, one book
there. Yeah. And you have relationships already established in BC? Yeah.
I have connections there too. So but even if I didn't, I wouldn't really mind it. Again, you're ready just to be and do something else for a little while, right? It's okay if you don't know anybody right away, right? Sometimes that's an advantage.
Yeah, I've often thought that.
Yeah.
If you're going through some stuff and it's time to make a change, maybe the best thing is to just go somewhere else and start over.
Yeah. Have you done that?
No. No, I wanted to though, but I've not. No, because I was a single mom for a long time, we had roots. We stayed where there were roots.
It wasn't about you.
No, that's right.
Right. It wasn't about you. It was about the fact that you had priorities, and it wasn't just now maybe different world, different thing. Maybe you would have.
Yeah.
And it also depends on the kid too. Son, daughter.
Well, I have 2 sons, and they're 22 and 19.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're big now. I mean, they're starting their own thing.
You certainly don't look it. But anyways.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
I started young too.
Yes, but I mean, it's one of those deals where, how do I put this? Like when they were younger, like their lives were good, or I mean, that's hard to build up and move around. Whereas when I grew up, I moved around all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were pretty fortunate too. Like I had a super great community of people.
Yeah.
That we called our tribe that was there to support us, and then also too the literary community in Edmonton. I was pretty invested in the arts community right from a long time ago, and so it seemed. Why would I leave that as a single mother who had all this kind of cradling around her? So
that's totally understandable. That's totally understandable.
Yeah.
So,
but maybe one day,
maybe one day.
Yeah.
Where would you go?
BC.
Yeah. Where would you like particularly the mainland, the island? Where would you go?
No, so I'm remarried. I've been remarried for a little while, and we would go to Pender Island or Salt Spring Island.
Okay.
But Edmonton is also has been my home. The art community, the literary community there, the poetry community has been phenomenal for me. So the idea of leaving is I don't think would be for a long time. I really don't.
No.
Yeah. No. Maybe when we're ready to retire and do nothing.
You're never gonna do nothing.
No, I will never do nothing. That's right. Thank you.
You'll never do nothing.
I probably won't.
Well, I mean, even the idea of retirement, as we imagine it's so much.
Yes.
So much. It's not. I will never retire. I've come to peace with that already.
I have too. I'm no, I'll always be writing. I'll always be, hopefully outperforming and doing things. And so the concept of what is retirement anymore is different. It's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just it's about, and also actually it may not be entirely a bad thing. I had on my day job, right? My boss just retired. He'd been there for 30. He's one of the last people that gets that kind of retirement, and he's scared to death. He was scared to death.
Yeah.
And it's an understandable fear because you've defined. You're there you're in a place long enough. You define yourself by that place, right?
Yeah.
And now that's gone, and now you gotta fill that void somehow, some way, right?
Yeah. Not everybody can go golfing every day.
Well,
there's got to be more to it.
And even that would get boring.
Yes.
They would get really, really boring because it's something you enjoy, and it's nice to have. If you even had freedom, that you have the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
But unless it's like, I'm going to be a professional golfer, which is one of the few sports you can actually do that in the twilight of your life, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those. It is one of the few that you can do that with.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that passion for it,
No.
I feel what's happened with the previous generations. They figured they'd go for security first, and then maybe figure out what makes them happy along the way.
Yeah.
Well, the generations now just realize there is no security.
Yeah.
So you might as well just figure out what you want to do and do it, because there's nothing else.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's something I've always said to my kids too, right? Like, do what you love, and the security will eventually come. You know, the life that you want will come to you if you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
And whether that means financial security or emotional security, there's, it doesn't really matter. They're the same.
there comes a point where, and I'm sure if my father or anyone else listens to this, they'll probably be like, "What are you talking about?" there comes a point, like, you get to a certain point in your life, like, the money isn't gonna matter as much, especially when you get towards the end and you're closer to the end than you are at the beginning, right? Yeah, you would have liked some things, like, maybe I would have liked that shiny Lamborghini, maybe, right? But I listened to an interview and I really like this. Like, there are really only 3 things at the end of the day you're gonna look back on, where you the best person you possibly could be.
Yeah.
Some days, we all struggle with that some days, right? If I do get to that point where I do have kids someday, was I a good parent?
Yeah.
Did I do the best I possibly can in that regard?
Yeah.
And number 3, right? How do I want to remember the things I'm most proud of?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you're gonna have at the end of this.
Yeah.
So you might as well worry about that, right? Because the rest of this, you can't take this with you when you go.
No.
There's a little twinkle there, so I guess you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think everything is always more complicated than, we want it to be. I certainly don't want to be in a state of financial insecurity when I'm older. I do want to have the ability to be comfortable and okay and not worry, and and I want to be able to help provide for my children if they need it.
Absolutely.
So I think there's like a balance, right?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, yes, have I lived a good life that I'm proud of? Have I been able to do good things? And have I found my passion? And have I lived my truth? And have I been a good parent? And all of
yeah. Well, again, it's simple stuff.
Yeah.
Simplicity is super hard.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
It sounds easy. It's not.
It's not easy. Everything is. Yeah. Life is complicated. Life is a journey.
Always.
Yeah.
That's the cliche. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Yes.
So, what came first for you? Literature or like writing fiction or writing poetry? And I'm not saying them like I'm stylistic. I have not read your poetry yet. I'm sorry to say so. I'm sorry to say.
It's okay.
Yes.
Well, I feel like they both were just a part of everything, because I grew up like in a rural farming community, and I have distinct memories of like creating stories for the horses and the goats, and like
That's awesome.
doing plays with them. So I feel like that part of my brain was always doing that. But then and going through divorce and all of that kind of stuff, I do feel like story and poetry got me through a lot of hard times. And then but my career started in music, and then switched over to the poetry. Like, I've kind of danced around the art community my entire career, so like working for a film festival, working for a record label, working for different arts organizations, and then found my way into the poetry festival, which I ran for 7 years. So But my mom, when we were kids, my mom always read romance novels. That's what she read. So when I first started reading books, it was romance novels, which is crazy. So when I started writing, like seriously writing, the first thing I ever published was just a poetry chapbook, on my own, just to get my words out there. And then when I started getting more serious and more serious, I was writing my first poetry collection, like the full-length collection, at the same time as writing my first paranormal romance. So I feel like they were just intertwined all the time. I couldn't not write one. So I don't think there was one before the other. I feel like they've been both constantly a part of my life.
They've always been there.
They've always both been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask what you're more comfortable with. I am actually getting no. That's not the question. I am curious. It's legit here. But like you worked for a record label.
Yeah.
You performed as well. I'm assuming.
I performed theater.
Okay.
And that was my first foray into the arts was actually in theater, amateur theater, and I thought for the longest time I was going to be an actress. I always thought that's what I would do. And then I had children and got divorced very young, and so that was off the table because I had to provide for my kids. So I went into like cultural management, arts and cultural management, and then found my way into the music industry and film, but on the management side of it.
It's interesting because I've talked to I find it's really fascinating to me that I talk to yourself, people with corporate backgrounds like Fonda and Kelly Armstrong, and I'm like, you guys like that have achieved a decent amount of success in the industry. You all seem to have huge organizational backgrounds, like in terms of learning how to organize and prompt and prioritize.
Yeah. Well, I do believe that's a part of success is you have to be able to manage your career, and if you can't do that, then you're likely going to have trouble moving it around or marketing yourself or organizing yourself, all of that kind of stuff. I think that's vital.
Well, I also just think just like a lot of people when they think arts, they don't necessarily think, okay, it's organization, it's deadlines, it's self-motivation, you have to get up and do it. Also, I mean, it's also the fact that, okay, accountability, like those are big, like they're big things in business, but I would argue, like, especially when you get like you Big Five success, any kind of success like in traditional publishing, you need that in order to actually even have a chance.
Absolutely. And writing, I've always said, like, what inspires you? And for me, it's like, well, that's kind of a loaded question because lots of stuff inspires us, but you write because you have a schedule that you have to keep every day, and you write every day, and that's how the words and the stories come, is because you're writing every day and your brain is in that mode. If you were just to sit and wait for lightning to strike or inspiration to strike, it's not coming.
No.
It comes because you've trained your brain to be working.
So I would argue to say that time management is probably one of the biggest secrets of this.
Yeah. Get up and do.
Yes.
Do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to take the plunge? Like, what was because everybody kind of has their own catalyst for this. So what was yours?
So to take the plunge from like leaving the poetry festival?
No. Just like getting saying, I'm going to get myself published. I'm gonna do that.
Again, I don't even know if there is a simple answer. I feel like I've always been fairly driven, and if I want, so I said before I was in the theater, I thought I was going to be an actress, and then things changed, so I went into management. But absolutely, 100% always in the back of my mind was, I don't want to spend the rest of my life managing other artists. I want to be my own artist. That was what drove me all of my life. That's what I always envisioned for myself. And so the end goal was to always get back to finding my own path through art and not managing other people's art, right? And so I think it was just a part of who I was. I knew that I had to do my own stuff. And once I started finding a little more stability in my life, which allowed me to start believing in the potential of that again, or that I had the capacity for that again. And I had always kept writing. So it was just, I think it was just more along the lines of, you're in a good place, you're running the poetry festival, you've got good mentors and good people around you, and you're invested in the community, and let's try and put a book out. And so that was what happened with the chapbook. And then when it came time for the other work, that was a real conversation with myself that, okay, I am going to write this book, and I am going to work on this book for the next 2 years and make it happen. And so it was really honest conversations with myself about what is it you really want and how are you going to achieve it.
That's awesome. That's actually really cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's because honestly, a lot of people talk about I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. You did it. That's not, and there's no talk.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had some very honest. You probably had a very honest conversation with yourself once or twice about what the heck are you doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. But at the end of the day, you did it, and that's a feat.
Thanks.
Yeah. No. I mean, seriously. I speak of this because I still have a day job, and I see it. A lot of people talk a game.
Yeah.
Not too many people actually do.
Yeah.
But
I was lucky that my day job was in the arts as well, right? Running the festival, so the Edmonton Poetry Festival, I ran that for 7 years, and that was a full-time day job. Mm. So my life was centered around arts, all the time.
I do somehow feel, though, even if it hadn't been, you'd have found a way.
Probably.
Yeah. It's just
you do, because, you have to.
Well, yeah. Well, I believe, something I've said a few times, I truly believe people do exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
Always. It doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter what circumstances. You can't control your circumstances, and there's always consequences. But all that said, at the end of the day, you do exactly what you want to do each and every time. Yeah. So if you don't do something, it's because ultimately you didn't want to do it. And not necessarily because maybe you did want to do it, but maybe your fear of what you're doing was more stronger than that desire to actually do it. And I think the fact is, you went in and said, hey, let's go do it. Let's see what happens. And so the chapbook then led into...
I think the chapbook was more to say I have a body of work.
Yes.
Take me seriously to the wider world, right? I can do this. Here is my body of work that I have done on my own. So I think that's what the chapbook was about for the most part, right?
Yeah.
To show that I have done, I can write, I am trying. But I also want to say, I also have been very fortunate that I do live in a place of a fair amount of privilege. And so being able to transition into doing things that I want to do has been made easier because I do have that, supportive community and everything else that not everybody has. And I'm pretty aware of that too.
No one does it on their own.
Nobody does it on their own.
No.
And some people have much higher hurdles to jump over.
It's true.
Yeah.
Life's not fair, but that's not always a bad thing either.
No.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite certain that a lot of the struggles and trauma that I went through in life have certainly helped propel my desires to do the things that I wanted to do.
You still did it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you came from, what you went through. At the end of the day, you did it. That's how people look at it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes. It's okay. So then what was next after the chapbook? It was a novel, or was it?
Okay, right. So the poetry. So I have a poetry novel. So it's a novel in verse. So it's not a typical poetry collection. It's the story of an immigrant woman's life from the day of her birth to the day of her death, and it's told through the voice of 3 women's voices, so her voice, her daughter's voice, and her granddaughter's voice.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's all poems that weave in and out of the different women's voices to tell this novel. So it's a novel in verse. And then I have the paranormal romance / urban fantasy series. But I was writing them both at the same time. And then I ended up getting them picked up for publication pretty much right at the same time as well. And I think the first books came out basically within a month of each other. So
it's impressive. No, that's impressive. Although I genuinely ask this, right? Because sometimes the way publishing works is a bunch of your work just comes out at once. It's not necessarily mean you were that prolific in that time. It's just one of those convergences of.
It was just a convergence of somehow it worked that way.
Yeah.
And then I've had one book come out every about 9 months for the romance series. So the third one just came out last week. No, 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then I'm working on the fourth one right now, so I'm hoping to keep up that cycle. But I've been told that's not fast enough, that I should be getting them out more faster, which I don't know how anybody does that. But.
Well, no, it's simple. They kill themselves. I mean, that's the honest answer. They kill themselves. I've seen this with a lot of authors. They'll do this giant serial series, try to release a book a month, and kudos to you for being if you can pull that off. But I have never seen it be you might be able to do it for let's say you happen to put together 6 books.
Yeah.
And you aren't going to release them until they're all done.
Yeah.
I could see that. I don't know if I would do it, but I could see it.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of people go, I gotta keep up with the algorithm. It's you can't. There's a point where you gotta just recognize that, you know what? I have a life. I want to live. Sleeping's nice. Sleeping is nice.
Yeah, sleeping's nice. And I also do believe in the mantra of steady as she goes, a slow build, create that real honest audience that wants your books and will stick with you through the process.
It's just about being consistent.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. I mean, my podcast comes out twice a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy, that's huge.
Yeah, by the way, as of this interview, I'm at episode 266.
Oh my God.
I've been doing this for a while.
That's insane.
No, it's just, so I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I accidentally got published. I accidentally got a podcast. Everything was an accident. It really was.
Yeah.
I interviewed Rob Sawyer. He goes to me, and this is when I finally get a phone like this for the first time ever. It's yes, because I used to actually write out my interviews. If you go on my blog back far enough, you'll see written, I love the Rolling Stone style interview. I really enjoy that style. That was my plan. I could now, instead of having to memorize everything, I could transcribe it, right, and do it. But Rob just happened to mention to somebody in passing that I was doing a podcast. But I wasn't doing a podcast, and I was like. But something just clicked in my brain, can I do a podcast? Can I actually do it?
Yeah. And
I could, and I learned. I'm self-taught. I teach myself everything along the way.
Yeah.
But what eventually happened is, I've never had a problem getting interviews, ever.
Yeah.
And because of that, right, it got to the point where I was going to do just one a week.
Yeah.
Right, but then eventually I had more interviews than I had for the one a week, slot. Yeah. Right, and that's then right this minute is the first time in 2 years I've been this low on interviews, but I'm not really that worried about it because usually what ends up happening is someone will contact me from somewhere and, hey, I know this person, you should interview them, or I know this, and it just constantly. That, and that's been how this has worked for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, very cool. Yeah, very cool. Like I said before, I have a poetry podcast called Let's Get Lit that I do with my very good friend Matthew Stepanek. But we do one a month, and it's an hour-long interview of strictly Albertan poets to kind of promote the Alberta poetry scene. But it's one a month, and that's it. Because that's a lot of work.
No, it is. No,
it's a lot of work. So for you to be doing it twice a week, kudos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's happened. It just was one of those. Let's do it. Let's just do it, and let's just go for it and see what happens. Lo and behold, they say I must be doing something right.
Yeah, you're doing something right.
Yeah, must be doing something right. So, but yeah, like I think it's like anything else. You fall into those things, and it's about going back. Like it's about consistently putting out product, like whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter if I will never do it more than 2 a week, ever.
No, God, even.
Ever, I will never do it, right?
Yeah.
But because I get approached, you should do another show. It's like blank. How much? Because
it's not just this. You have to go and edit it and upload it and prep all the stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've done this enough. It doesn't take me very long anymore. But I've put a lot of time into this.
Yeah.
So it's gotten to the point. I've gotten to that point where I will almost dare say I am unconsciously competent. Does that, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I'm almost at that point with this now. I'm gonna until I upgrade. Now I get to my next upgrade, I'm gonna have to teach myself all kinds of new tricks to make it better.
Yeah.
Because it's much like anything. It's much like any other craft. Like you do the best you can with what you have.
Yeah. And
then as you get better tools, as your understanding increases, you get better.
Yeah.
Right? And that takes time, effort, and practice. But I mean, I actually had to figure out what that was worth this year for the first. Someone approached me and goes, "I would love if you featured one of my authors every month." And I was like, that's a lot of time and effort on my end. How much, right?
Right.
You have to think about that in those terms, right? I mean, at the end of the day, whether it's like any kind of art form, there's a business end of it, and you have to recognize what you're worth.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
The one criminal thing I think I attribute is Canadians are some of the most talented people in the world. Like it's not even. I don't even think there's an argument that can be made about that. There's a lot of people that do incredibly amazing things.
Yeah.
But I also I have this tendency to think that we have a tendency to undervalue what we do because we don't recognize the time and effort and sacrifices we made to get good at whatever these passions are, and they're worth something.
Yeah,
they should.
Yeah.
They should be anyway. And I don't think one thing about the United States, one thing about for all its faults, one thing it does do very well is it has platforms for people to recognize works.
Oh.
Right? They do that better than here.
Yeah.
They do that better than here, and I think more that's something that needs to be worked on here because you're great. There's lots of people like you that are great in a variety of things. I do not feel that Canadians take their own talent seriously enough.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're a very humble people as well.
It's true. That's part. I think that's part of it, but I don't think that's all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Canada also is a really big, vast, wide country. So, often artists in larger centers like Toronto and Vancouver are more likely to get perhaps some of the accolades because they're in these large centers that have so many people, whereas artists in smaller communities or cities like Edmonton or Saskatchewan or it's a little harder to become known on the big stage, on the bigger stage.
Yeah, no, I agree, but like I said, I think more than ever now, that's why I think we have the opportunity now to create platforms now, because again, you have a podcast, on a podcast level. Yeah. You can feature, you're featuring people in Alberta, which is great, but it's not that much just to say someone in Saskatchewan did the same thing. Someone in Manitoba did the same thing.
Yeah, it'd be great if there was podcasts all over doing that.
It would. I'm saying the possibility for platforms like that really do exist now.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So I'm hoping, this is my secret hope, within the next 10, 20 years, people do that, because I think, again, just my own just honest belief is there's a lot of talented people out there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we decided to do the podcast, was to showcase the great artists in our communities that are doing some awesome stuff and give them a wider audience, hopefully.
Yes.
If anybody's listening.
Oh, people do listen to this one, so there you go. But I mean, it's one of those. Like, that's kind of like that's kind of like the next goal for this podcast.
Yeah.
I have credentials because of just things I've won, right, and other things as well. I have an audience now. I'm trying to utilize it. My big dream for the podcast, as time goes on, I would love it if every Canadian launched a book, they'd come to the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think because again, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If I say there's not a platform out there, and I seem to be getting no problem getting interviews for it, you said platform, there's no platform. I might as well become it.
Yeah.
I know that might be ambitious, but I just look at it kind of like it's kind of how it's kind of been going anyway. So I might as well just
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Take over the world.
Yeah.
It'll be my world or something like that, right? Yeah. No, just this might be naive, but I kind of want everyone to succeed. I really, yeah.
That's a good plan.
Well, it's just life's too short. I mean, I would if you're happy doing your thing, I'm happy doing my thing.
Yeah.
You're not hurting yourself or anybody I'm aware of, right?
Yeah.
We didn't get to the incriminating part of this yet. No. So, but assuming that, I mean, why wouldn't I want you to be successful?
Yeah.
If anything, you being successful, other people being successful,
Yeah.
it makes it easier for me to be successful.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I think that a big part of being a successful person in life includes supporting other people and helping, them come up with you and supporting the people that are also doing really great things and cool things. And that's how it all works.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so I think I would like, again, if everybody was doing it, I think everybody'd be happier. I mean, I might be wrong on this. But I mean, that's how I look at life's too short.
Yeah.
Life's just too short. You gotta think about what's important, and that's kind of like those are my master plans.
Yeah.
So what's your master plan? What's your plan for world domination?
Oh God.
Just scrambling, panicking.
World domination. Plan for world domination
Come on,
would be, I want to put out as many books as I possibly can that are good and cool and, speak to people and are fun, and I want to be successful at that. I mean, really, I do. I want to be very successful at that, and I want people to know me and know my voice and know my books and hopefully save them. Like I don't know if I want to have world domination. I want to have a really good life doing what I love and hopefully other people find enjoyment in it.
So.
And I want to make money at it.
And that's totally, and those are totally reasons. So I have a buddy. The most inspirational book I ever read, is a comic book called 1,000 Steps to World Domination. So my friend, his name's Rob Osborne. He's a cartoonist. And it's his story of how he broke into comics. It's actually a very inspiring story.
Okay.
It sounds ruthless initially when you listen to it, but he has this monkey of self-doubt that only he can see, right? And then he has these little side steps. Like for example, there's a scene where the devil's watching him from his television. He turns to him, no, don't do that. Okay, boys, let's break his spirit. And talks about all the pitfalls, and it is, generally speaking, inspiring because it talks about pursuing your dreams, giving up all the comfortable things you've known to go for it, and even if it's not, it doesn't end up exactly as you envision it. I think the one thing I've learned doing all this is it never goes the way you plan it.
No.
Ever.
No, not usually.
I have 6 rules. The 6 rules are, the rule 4 is, so you want to hear all 6? You want to hear?
Yeah, give it to me.
Rule 1, show up.
Yeah.
Rule 2, do your shit.
Yeah.
Rule 3, don't quit.
Yeah.
Rule 4, the rest is rain. We'll come back to that one.
Okay, the rest is rain?
Yes.
Okay.
Rule 5, get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Rule 6, no excuses. Now we'll go back to rule 4.
Okay.
The rest is rain. Can you control where the rain falls?
No, right.
Right? You can't.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any point in being mad at how the rain falls? it's going to fall where it falls. The paradox of success, and Colleen Durant says this, is you can do everything right and still not succeed.
Yeah.
That's the paradox of success. Now, the paradox on that is if you don't do those things, you can't succeed. You can't succeed at all. Right. But if you do them all, you may not succeed. All you can do is put yourself in the best possible positions in what you do to succeed. And and now chances are, you swing enough times at the bat, you're going to hit a home run. That's just that's the way it is. But you got to also accept the fact that every once in a while, that ball's going to beat you. No matter what you do, no matter how properly you swing at that bat.
Yep. It's true.
The ball's going to get by you sometimes.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
That's life. Right?
Yeah.
So when you do succeed, you get out of your own way, because what I find is you get more successful doing you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Doing you.
Yeah.
And what people forget is like, oh my God, I'm successful. They try to change what got them there, and you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because what got you there, right, was being you.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, when people ask me about whether, what do you love more, poetry or the fiction, the romance stuff, or, what do you think
I didn't ask that question.
Yeah, because I feel, and people do all the time, and I'm like, but they're both a part of me.
Yeah.
And that's who I am, and that's the career that I've built, is that I do both, and I write both, and I love both, and they are, such a big part of my life. And to try and change that, and to only do one or the other, or to have, like, a pen name or different platforms, I have no interest in that, because that's not me.
No.
And I don't want to pretend that a woman can't have an interest in both of them, or love both of them, or write both of them.
I look at it this way. People like Dan Simmons make their career writing everything they want to.
Yeah.
Why can't you?
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Why can't you?
Yeah.
Right? Now, again, maybe you make your big money with your urban romances. Maybe that's how you make your big money. Maybe. Who cares? Right? Who cares? You write, so maybe you write urban that the rest of your life, but maybe you do, while you're doing that, you do that epic fantasy that's in your head. Maybe you do that science fiction that's in your head. Maybe you do that general historical. I could see you doing your historical. Something tells us.
Super could.
Yeah.
Actually, when I say we grew up reading romances, it was my mom was a huge historical romance fan. So,
yeah.
Like Joanna Lindsay was probably the first author I was ever reading.
So maybe one day you'll be the next Diane Gabaldon.
I don't know. That historical romance takes a whole shitload of research.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if I have that. I don't know if I have that much.
I actually see, just in talking to you, you do have the capacity to do it. Now the question, I don't think that's the question.
Yeah.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
Do you have the patience?
Right, and I think the reason I really like the urban fantasy stuff is because it's world building. I can create whatever world I want. I can have it become whatever I want just through my own imagination. Whereas the historical, you've got to be bang on and correct, and you can't alter it because that's not what it is, right? And so I like being able to just create whatever world I want it to look like.
As long as because the beautiful thing about world building,
yes,
the only rules you have to follow are consistent to the world. Mm-hmm. So my novel coming up is science fiction, but the idea is the digital cloud today will be our history tomorrow.
Oh.
So it's the Matrix meets Indiana Jones is what this is.
Cool.
Right? That's what it literally is.
Okay.
And so I have a very cowardly character, follows a girl with a gunblade into the cloud. He gets a file that everybody from zombie mobsters to unicorns that fart rainbows wants. And yes, there's a unicorn that farts rainbows who talks some wingdings.
Oh God.
Yes. and the thing about that is but it's consistent to the world.
Right.
It's consistent to the world.
Right.
I can come up with all kinds of wonderful, wacky stuff, and it fits the context of that world.
Yeah.
Right? And as long as I'm consistent with that, the audience will go along for the ride.
Right. Yeah.
The moment so what I have to be careful of is, the thing about historicals, it's hard. I think the real challenge is credibility. Right? It's credibility, because it's easier when you world build by yourself.
Right.
Right? To be very credible, because you know the rules. Listen, A will always equal A. That's just the way it is. This will always, and as long as I follow that rule, even if I don't know the easy solution to this, A will always be A. And as long as I'm doing that, the audience will go with me every step of the way. Now, an interesting thought about historical.
Yeah.
I was taught this way back in the day. history is a story, right? It's a story that we believe, but we can't 100% say is accurate.
Right.
So if you did a historical romance, yeah, you would have to keep certain things absolutely consistent.
Yeah.
But there are things you don't have to.
Right.
Either. You don't have to either. You just have to be consistent in the story you're telling, and you live with it.
Yeah.
And if someone goes to you, hey, this wasn't accurate, man. I mean, right? You can always say this: if I screwed up, it's on me.
Yeah.
Or you just say that at the very beginning. If I screwed up, it's on me.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with this. And that's the other thing too. It doesn't have to be perfect.
No, it doesn't. Well, I don't know.
Perfectionist.
No, I'm not.
No. Yeah.
I mean, I like things done right, but I'm not a perfectionist.
That's a very interesting line. So what's the line there?
No, I mean, I will jump into things and do them, and they need to be done right. But if something ends up being a mistake or wrong, it's not going to end my...
You're not gonna have apoplexy if you screw up.
No, you just move on to the next thing and do it right the next time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because the way you said that, I was like, oh.
No, because we all make mistakes.
Absolutely,
and all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm just making. I was just. Because but I'm just saying, if you approached it maybe like that, I could definitely see it with you. If you really wanted to do it, even just not a historical romance, but straight historical,
right.
I could totally see it with you. I get the feeling you have a very interesting attention to detail. I'm right that I think you could pull it off.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll do it one day.
Yeah, but whatever you want to do, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, like going back to what I was actually saying about that, right? You can do whatever. Your career path is your career path.
Yeah.
There's no right. The thing about today is there's no right way. Right now, everybody's going about speed. That's going to change. Eventually, people are going to realize, you know what? This algorithm's stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That isn't to say it's the what is it the 20 books to 50K or something like that. That's the concept they came up with. Because again, it beats the formula. But on the same token, again, this goes ultimately. I'd see a lot of people burning out.
Oh, huge! I couldn't imagine. And quite honestly, I don't know how you can be putting out your best work when you're putting out a book a month. I don't know how you can be. And I mean, and what are the length of that book a month? I mean, you're writing a 70,000 word book a month. Again, how is that physically possible? And how has it gone through 2 or 3 drafts of revisions and edits and everything else? Unless you're the person, like you say, who wrote 6 books before you started putting them out one a month, but then you still have to stay within that cycle. And I don't know how you can be putting out the best work for the people that are reading your books. And for me, that's important. It's not about beating the algorithm or selling as many books as I can. It's about, am I actually writing a story that is good, that I like, that I hope the people who are reading will like.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah, quite honestly, yes. I mean, if I could get to the point where I could do 1 book every 6 months and I was doing a book that I was really proud of every 6 months, that would be great. I think I could get to that point. I hope I can get to that point. I don't. But even at that, I mean, that's dedication,
and maybe. Yeah, again, totally could see you get there. I totally could, but it might not be for a few more years. That's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
And the older I get, the more it's not about beating an algorithm. It never has been. It's about writing really good stories that draw me in and that I enjoy when I'm writing them.
Yes.
And that
it's always best when you're when you're laughing, when you're having a good time.
Yeah.
It's always the best.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those situations where it's like if you're having fun, your audience is going to have fun. right? And that's when I have an alpha reader read a part of this book, the novel I talk about, and spaghetti actually came out of my nose with this one scene.
Cool.
That was what I was going for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not. By the way, in my case, don't eat spaghetti when you read certain parts of this book.
Okay. Yeah, and in the case of the poetry, I mean, I feel like poetry deserves that length of time to be spent on it and to be ruminating over it. And, I feel really solid within that poetry can't be written quickly and shouldn't be. Because it's about the expediency of finding the best language for that emotion, and I think that takes time.
I'm going to partially disagree. No. I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
All right, this is what happened with me. I didn't finish the book and say it was done at this point, but I did something similar to what you did.
Yeah.
I wrote a Gilgamesh-style epic about a slave boy who kills his dragon masters and goes to post-apocalyptic land. But I wrote it and published it actually almost completely by accident. And this is the other accidental thing.
Right.
I did a poetry collection way back in my early 20s, and I wanted to do another one. I figured I was getting back in, let's get my feet, let's see what happens, right?
Right.
I want to write a longer poem, something because most of my poems are like 1 or 2 pages. It's like, I want to do something a little longer, kind of get a feel, like just to expand my horizons a little bit. So I came up with this concept of this boy looking up in this watchtower, watching for weather and other things, in this compound where dragons were basically enslaving. Right.
Okay.
Human beings, like it's just one of those. Yeah. So he's looking out there and he wonders. There's more. I wrote it. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Then I go, well, what happens next? And so I wrote chapter 2 really quick. It came to me like it was nothing. Then I wrote chapter 3, which is his first night alone.
Yeah.
Out in the wilderness. He just killed he killed something for the first time in his life. He's on his own and he's being in a completely foreign and strange, and it came really quick. 4, then 4, 5. So by the time I got to the 5th one, I knew this is my poetry. Like screw what I was doing.
Right,
this is the story I'm telling.
Right.
So I told the whole story. The first draft literally I wrote it in 2 weeks. It was incredibly. It just came right out.
So it's a long form poetry book.
Yeah. It just came out. It came out really quick. Now don't get me wrong. Edits and other things. It took.
Well, and I think that's what I think with poetry. I mean, often that one poem comes to you very quickly in a burst of channeling something.
Yeah.
But I also believe you owe it to the poem to go back into it over and over and over and ask yourself if this is the best use of, language that you can do for that poem.
Yeah. But it's, like I said, it was just for me,
Yes.
the first book especially was incredibly easy. I've never even now, I have another novel I'm working on, although it's come incredibly easy.
Yeah.
It's I call it my make a mess draft. I let everything.
I like that.
I let I don't care right now, but I know when I go to I handwrite my drafts.
God.
Yeah. I got sick a few years back, and I couldn't. It was a very weird sickness. I found being around computers and stuff actually made it worse.
Oh.
So I actually went back to handwriting, but I really enjoyed it. So I've kept it. So,
well, you know what? I write all of my poetry by hand.
Yeah.
The fiction stuff I do on the computer, but all of the poetry is always done by hand first.
Yeah, I do everything by hand.
What?
I do it. Yeah, I know.
That's
but
fun.
yeah, but it's. When I handwrite this, I'm on my second notebook on this novel, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of spots. Like I'll write notes afterwards. Like revise this. I know this is not right. I know this is. But it's okay. It's my first draft.
Yeah.
It's getting all that story out.
Yeah. It's your dump.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's totally my dump. It's totally my dump.
Yeah.
Right.
And first draft should be.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
although, I mean, I think for some people, whether they're plotters or pantsers, that saying, plotters probably don't work that way with their first drafts.
Well, plotters make messes in other ways.
Yes.
Their messes. I've seen plotters. They'll have cue cards. They'll have
they'll
charts.
have, walls of charts and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
No.
I just start writing. I mean, I think I have I know I have the idea in my mind for where it's going and what I want it to do, but often the book changes and the characters change it as we're going.
I have my beginning and ending usually figured out. Oddly with this novel, it took me a while to figure out the proper. I knew where the last scene was.
Yeah.
But the scene before, how they got there,
right.
I wasn't sure, because it was just like one of those situations where it was like, will people buy it, right? And it's like, so I think I came up to kind of a compromise. We'll see. We'll see when I remember it's right. And so I had that, and I had a couple other points in there that just like, okay, I think this is where this is going.
Yeah.
And then I let go, because it's one of those situations where it's like, you know what? I learned this the hard way. Well, one of the greatest accidents in the universe was chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, really?
It was an accident. The same people that invented plutonium that made chocolate chip cookies.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to the day.
Yeah.
Chocolate chip cookies is an accident. They accidentally put chocolate chips in the cookie dough, and that's how chocolate chip cookies got made.
Cool.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So if you don't let yourself make messes, you don't let yourself have surprises. Like I consider to make a mess. You have a potential for a chocolate chip cookie somewhere in this.
That's a great line.
Yeah. There's potential. Now that doesn't mean there's some slog in here. I know there is. So when I type it up, it's like, and nope, and I'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what the type up novel. So it's like a 1.5 draft.
Right.
Right. When I get to that point.
Okay.
When I get to that point, and then it's like, okay, now then you go back. Where do I suck?
Right. Yeah. Kill your darlings.
And then after that, I try it again, and then I get to then there's what I call the diminishing returns, because you're too close to it after a while, and it's like, I can't tell if this is the forest or the trees.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
It happens to us all, and we can go away from it and come back, but there is a diminishing return aspect to this eventually, and you gotta recognize it's like, okay, I've gone as far as I can go.
Yeah.
Right, help me. Right, and because I don't know anymore, and sometimes you'll get your notes back, and you're like, how did I miss that?
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I do the thing they say don't do, but I have my sister who is my beta reader, because she's brutal with me. She doesn't hold back, and and so she always reads. Once I get the second draft done, I hand it on to her, and then she'll bring it back to me and tell me, whether it's what needs to be adjusted or changed or fixed or altered, or, how bad my spelling is throughout the entire thing, etc., etc. And then I have the editor through my publisher, which also does the same thing. So I have two people helping me get my shit together.
Being brutal isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as
it's a bad thing.
No, I think
as long as you trust the people that are giving you that brutal.
That, and they're brutalizing the work, not brutalizing you.
Yes.
If they're brutalizing you, you need to walk away from them.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I tell people all the time, it should never be about you. It should be about the work. And I'm very lucky that those two people are never about me.
Now you might need a moment, even with the work, to go, okay, I need a minute. I've learned this one the hard way. I need a minute. Right?
Yeah.
Not because they're wrong, but because they're right.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because you're so attached to it, you have to give yourself that minute to separate yourself. Okay, they're helping me. I gotta tell myself this at first. Hit the wall. Okay, I'm good now. I feel better. Or break that clay pot. Right? Whatever works. Okay, I'm good. All right.
Right.
Let's fix this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Trust in the process.
That's right. Or something like that.
Yeah.
So we've gone. I think we've gone quite a different variety of ways.
I think so.
So
yeah.
I guess I'm going to ask one last final question.
Okay.
Then I'm going to have you plug your stuff.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Because that's just how I always interview.
Right.
And it's not the incriminating question. I promise you. Okay. Good thing. All right.
Okay.
So here's the question.
Yeah.
If you were to, this might be a hard one. If you were to summarize, I always believe that all our stories are reflective of stuff, our other story, like our own personal, what we're going through at the time. So, what's the story behind your work? Like, what are you telling, or do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think the story behind my work all the time is, there's a few layers to it. One, the strength of a woman and what we're capable of, always at the end of the day. Two, redemption, that there's always good in everyone, and that we're capable of beautiful things, as well as terrible things. And then I think also I want to tie this. I think for the poetry, the story is always finding your voice and writing whatever you need to in order to find that voice. Those are probably...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's cool.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yep.
There's no wrong answer.
No,
it's just
no.
on this one.
Yeah,
it's just
no,
it's your that's your answer.
Yeah,
Right? That's
those
all
are I think those are my answers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, now, hopefully the easier part of this.
Okay.
What? You say you just released a book.
Yes.
Talk about that and talk about how
Okay.
people can find you.
Oh, okay. So I just released the third book in my series, and the series is called The Guardians, and it's a paranormal romance, urban fantasy series that talks about a group of immortals who are tasked with holding the balance between good and evil in the world, and then of course they have their relationships, etc., throughout the novels that carry on through the overlying story. And so the first book was Fireborn, the second book was Magicborn, the third book that just came out was Airborn. And Airborn is the story of, the two characters, Quinn and Locke and the Law, who have to, basically they find the evil that the first two books have been looking for throughout. And then we introduce the next characters for book 4, which will hopefully close off a whole bunch of the stories. So I have a website, which is RayanneHaines.com, and I'm on Twitter at InkRayanne. I'm on Facebook as Rayanne Haines. I'm on Instagram as Rayanne Haines. So I'm in a few different places.
All right.
Yeah.
And that was my conversation with Rayanne Haines. Rayanne's latest work is out. Definitely check it out. Check out her podcast. Check out her other works. Rayanne does a lot for her community. Awesome individual. Like I said, thank you very much for coming on my show. You are welcome back anytime you'd like. I enjoyed our conversation. Outside of that, this has been a really cool time for me. I've really enjoyed it. I want to thank everybody for their support in the last few weeks. I've heard from some really amazing people from out of nowhere that I hadn't talked to in a while. And a lot. Really did. So appreciate the kind words, each and every one of you. Thank you. It means an awful lot. That will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. So, if you want to support my podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. And let's start with my sponsors. Indian Print does amazing work with books, CDs, video games. They do a lot of cool different things. They support the indie community in Canada, United States, worldwide, and others worldwide. They're a great group, and they do some amazing, fantastic stuff. Check out the giveaways I'm doing this week with Jess Alter, with Space Mercs. They're amazing. Jennifer Ron is amazing too. Check out her website, longevity.thesis.ca, to see all her work. She's got an incredible catalog of success. I'm looking forward to giving away Wicked Initiations. I've been doing this take 10,000 times. I'm just going to leave this mistake in there. Wicked Initiations is the book I'm giving away over the next month or so. Jennifer did a really good job. Definitely check her out. There is also my books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, available through Mirror World Publishing. You can check them out at mirrorworldpublishing.com, but you can also check my books out at Amazon, Kobo, and where other books are sold, brick and mortar. Buy my books, share them, leave them. My YouTube channel is Joshua Penteloresco. My Facebook page is Joshua Penteloresco, author, podcaster. My Twitter and Instagram are at jpenteloresco. Stay inspired, be kind to each other, be authentic to each other. and I'll see you guys next time.
Josh.